There are about 40 days remaining to the next general election. Azimio and Kenya Kwanza are putting the best foot forward as they count down to that election. And we'll be telling you details about who was where and what they said. Welcome to Prime Edition. My name is John Jacob Kioria. For the next 1 hour, let me inform you about what has been happening in the country and further afield. But first things first, the highlights. The right to own land. President Uhuru Kenyatta launches issuance of 1 million title deeds across the country. A cache of arms. Police arrest a man with an assortment of guns and over 500 rounds of ammunition in Kilimani, Nairobi. And the death toll in the massive earthquake in Afghanistan rises to 1,000, with more than 1,500 people injured. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is John Jacob Kioria, and great thanks to our sign language interpreter tonight. Now, the anti-terror police unit is holding a man who was found in possession of an assortment of weapons and over 500 rounds of ammunition. Ken Lugwiri had, alias Wycliffe Ochieng Lugwiri, the proprietor of Foothold Technologies Limited, surrendered to police in Kilimani Police Station following a raid of his office where a cache of 20 guns and the ammunition were found.
Detectives are holding a man said to be a businessman who was allegedly found in the possession of a cache of weapons, including 20 high-caliber firearms and 500 rounds of ammunition stored in his Nairobi Wood Avenue office in Kilimani area.
We are yet to do that. Once we conduct that inventory, we're in a position to confirm what the number of guns that they have, the number of guns that were recovered, and whether indeed there are any guns, foreign or that do not belong to him, that are there.
The suspect, Ken Lungwiri alias Wycliffe Otieno, the proprietor of Vic Technologies Limited, surrendered to the police at Kilimani Police Station after his Armory Cam office was raided and the weapons recovered.
We do not know the accusations yet. So the issue is that the guns were just recovered from his premises, which is a licensed gun dealership, and they were brought here. So we have not actually been, he has not recorded any statement, he has not been interrogated. So there are no accusations leveled against him at this point.
Detectives have since established that the suspect was a licensed firearm dealer, but his license was suspended over 3 years ago.
The action of the police is just to confirm the validity of the licenses that we hold, and he is actually...
The anti-terror police unit have taken over the case and are investigating if the suspect had any links to terror cells.
And it's Wycliffe Otieno Lugwiri, the proprietor of Vic Technologies Limited. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta on Wednesday kicked off the latest phase of a national title deeds issuance program that will see the immediate issuance of 1 million title deeds to landowners across the country. Issuing 200 title deeds to signify the start of a program at the International Convention Center, that is Kenyatta International Convention Center in Nairobi. President Kenyatta directed the Cabinet Secretaries for Lands and Interior to come up with a program that will involve other Cabinet Secretaries in the issuance of a balance of already title deeds to expeditiously execute the exercise.
Wa pili ni Fatuma Yusuf Juma.
President Uhuru Kenyatta has highlighted several achievements under the reforms in the land sector, noting that the national titling program, which his administration introduced in 2013, has helped in processing and issuing title deeds to many citizens.
This has been through the collaboration with government in surveying, verification of ownership documents, and supporting alternative dispute resolution processes. Na hiyo ndio njia ya kujenga nchi, kwa sababu sasa umesaidia mtu kuwa na kitu ambacho anaweza kukopa na kuinua hali yake, kujenga biashara yake, kukuza shamba yake, ukiwa huogopi ya kwamba kesho utakuja kunyang'anya.
The head of state noted that the National Title Deeds Issuance Program has made it possible for Kenyans living in the marginalized areas such as Samburu, Isiolo and Marsabit counties to legally own land, thereby empowering them to develop economically.
Kutoka upande ya Samburu, kutoka upande ya Narok na Kajiado, ambao wanaambiwa hii area hii yote ni yenu, lakini hawana document yoyote ya kuwaonesha. Kesho unasikia mtu amechukua kitu, mtu amechukua fulani, mtu amechukua, inalete vita, inalete shida. Sasa kila mtu atakuwa na cheti chake kusema hapa ni kwangu na uwezi uguza kwangu.
President Kenyatta also pointed out that under the National Titling Program, all beneficiaries living in the former colonial villages such as those in Nyandarua were issued the title deeds, while the problem of long and protracted land cases in group ranches across the country were addressed.
Hata mbele ya mzungu, lakini kila saa wanaambiwa rudini kwenu. Kwenu ni wapi? Kwenu ni hapo unaishi na uko na cheti yako ya kusema hii ni shamba yangu. Ya? Hakuna mtu anaweza kukufukuza. Unarudi wapi? Hapo ambapo upo ndipo kwako. Na mimi nawaomba, let us treat this as a valuable document. Let us not treat these documents as individually owned. This document belongs to you and your family. And you must sit and plan together.
Marsabit, we have 3,000. This is the first time we are registering Marsabit.
The president added that through the program, the government has been able to secure the country's natural resources and heritage sites, which were under the threat of being grabbed. The government is also documenting land belonging to public institutions, while the Ministry of Lands and Physical Planning, working with partners in the education sector, has succeeded in titling parcels of land belonging to 20,000 schools and the surveying of 32,000 public schools.
Your Excellency, this is a very significant number, because you will be happy to note, Your Excellency, that the colonial government and our first three administrations registered 6 million. So actually you've surpassed slightly the million registered in the past 100 years. We thank you, Your Excellency.
And now to the ongoing saga involving Johnson Sakaja and his academic credentials. The Commission for University Education, CUE, has withdrawn the letter revoking the recognition of Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja's degree pending further investigations. This comes after Sakaja filed a contempt of court case against the Commission's chairperson, Professor Chacha Nyaigoti, for alleged violation of court orders.
In documents filed in court, Sakaja alleged that Professor Chacha exhibited contempt, disregard and disobedience of court orders that temporarily suspended the Commission's revocation of recognition of his degree. In a response to the case filed by Sakaja, the Commission now says the application by the Senator has been overtaken by events, adding that there is no basis for the court to exercise its jurisdiction over the said matter. Last week, the Commission for University Education wrote to Sakaja, revoking the recognition of his degree from Team University, citing complaints it said it had received regarding the validity of his degree. Professor Chacha then on Friday demanded that Sakaja should provide various documents to support the validity of the degree.
It may raise so many questions as to their functionality, to their independence, to their accountability when they are performing public functions or when they are still in public office. Investigation should come first. And then an action is taken.
He was scheduled to present the documents on Monday, but has since snapped the summons. Lynn Chalo for Prime Edition.
That obviously clears some hurdles for Johnson Sakaja in his bid to become the next Nairobi governor. Deputy President William Ruto says he will deliver all the promises he has made to Kenyans if elected president in the upcoming general election. Ruto, who led the Kenya Kwanza Brigade in a vote hunting mission in Kajiado County, recapped various projects in the county, which he says he managed to accomplish in the Jubilee government, promising to conclude them for the benefit of all.
The Kenya Kwanza Brigade Wednesday set foot in the county of Kajiado to woo voters to support their bottom-up economic model. Deputy President riding on a number of projects in the county undertaken by the Jubilee government, including infrastructure and rural electrification, which he says will be improved if elected the next president.
Mulikuwa na college moja peke yake ya Masai University ya Masai Technical Training College. Tumejenga ingine 3 hapa Kajiado. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Bottom.
The DP shared the bottom-up economic plan, promising to uplift the youth.
Tumesema na nataka mnisikize vizuri. Mwaka huu kwa mapenzi ya Mungu, kwa vyovyote mbele na nyuma, tunaweka bilioni 100 ya kwanza kupanga ajira ya hawa vijana wa Kenya.
Ruto, who called for a 6P style of voting, also committed to empower the mitumba business, which he says has employed majority of Kenyans.
Hawa vijana wamesoma, wengi wako na certificate, wengi nako wako na diploma, hata degree wako nayo. Shida yao si ujinga, shida yao ni ajira na biashara, wajisimamie, waendeshe taifa letu la Kenya.
Leaders who had accompanied the DP say there is need to lower the cost of living.
Tunawaambia suluhu ya kuteremsha bei ya unga, bei ya mafuta ya taa ni plan ya uchumi ya bottom.
Sisi tunasema ile serikali tunataka ingie ni serikali ambayo itaangazia uchumi, ishike steering sawa ndio tujikomboe kama Wakenya.
Unajua bila William Samoei Ruto mimi nitapotea bwana. Mpaka tuchague William Samoei Ruto, buniane wale watachagua William Samoei Ruto.
Mheshimiwa Naibu wa Rais, kuna wamama, mkubwa wangu, kuna wamama walifukuzwa hapa kwa soko. Na ni wamama wengi sana. Mimi naomba tu kwa ile spirit yetu mzuri ya bottom up. Leo saidia wao hata wapate mahali kidogo.
The DP earlier met with people living with disabilities at Ngong Rescos in Nairobi, where they signed a charter with plans of enabling access to business and jobs for persons with disabilities. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition presidential candidate Raila Odinga is promising to introduce livestock insurance cover for farmers in pastoral areas to cushion them against losses caused by effects of climate change if elected president in the August polls. Speaking in Baragoi, Samburu County, Raila said the move will also enhance security in the region that has witnessed decades of cattle rustling.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition Wednesday was in Samburu and Laikipia counties to woo voters ahead of the August polls. While in Samburu, the coalition's presidential candidate Raila Odinga promised to turn pastoralism into a commercial venture, saying the development of the livestock value chain will boost inter-county and cross-border trade.
Tujenga mabwawa ya kuvuna maji ya mvua. Tunavuna maji sasa, ile maji iko kwa wingi. Sawa. Ingine tunachimba kutoka chini ya ardhi ile ya kisima, sawa. Alafu tunavuruta na fereji mpaka karibu pale watu wanaishi, ili wakati wa ukame iko maji ya kutosha kwa mifugo na kwa binadamu. Hatuwezi kufanya maendeleo kama kuna usalama. Tunataka mpaka kuwe na usalama baina ya jamii ambayo inaishi hapa, kati ya Wasamburu na Waturkana. Sawa. Tunaelewana vizuri. Na hata wale jamii kama Warendile natoka pande ile, hata wale wa Borana, tunataka amani eneo hii yote.
Raila said Samburu has a lot of unexploited natural resources that would boost livelihoods if maximized on. Raila's running mate Martha Karua was at the same time in Laikipia calling for peaceful campaigns among aspirants. Karua said the Azimio coalition will end sibling rivalry in various elective seats countrywide by coming up with a mechanism of picking one candidate for each elective post before the August polls.
Yule tutaleta kwenu, awe ni gavana, awe ni MP, awe ni MCA au senator, tafadhali yule atakuja kama Azimio, huyo ndio wetu. Tumekubaliana? Pale juu hakuna maneno mengi. Tunataka uwe jamii kubwa, uwe ndogo, wote muwe ndani na mmehudumiwa sawa sawa, bila mapendeleo, bila kufinya wachache.
Irene Mchuma Odim, the Prime Edition.
Well, it's time for us to take a first breather on Prime Edition. But of course, when we come back, we have more news lined up for you, including our weekly segment of cinemas and theatre. And then later, Betty Kiptum with business and Karen Kibet with sports.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Aye.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition. Now, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services has announced construction of a tunnel for pedestrians in the Green Park bus terminus in a move aimed at ensuring their safety. The announcement was made Wednesday morning by Director of Transport Engineer Michael Ochieng during day one of a test run that is slated to end this Sunday. The terminus was set to be commissioned on 24th of last month, but was postponed following a request from public service vehicle operators.
The Nairobi Metropolitan Services NMS Green Park terminus, which was constructed to ease traffic at the capital city, will now have a tunnel for pedestrians. This is according to the Director of Transport Engineer Michael Ochieng, who said that construction works will begin immediately and be complete within 6 months.
We want also to improve on the quality of vehicles and the way the passengers are treated. So in terms of safety of crossing along there, I've said elaborately that we are going to construct a tunnel together with Kena that will enable safer crossing. A tunnel that is used everywhere, a separate grade intersection where vehicles will pass on top and passengers will pass below.
While addressing journalists at a test run, Engineer Ochieng said the time allocated for vehicles to drop off and pick up passengers will be 20 minutes.
Ukishift utoke sehemu moja uende sehemu nyingine, lazima utakuwa na ile time ya kureadjust na wateja pia wa readjust. The business will almost be the same because you'll be carrying almost the same passengers unless now you reduce the quality of your vehicle.
The test run is set to continue until Sunday before the official commissioning of the terminus. The terminus was set to be commissioned on 24th of last month, but was postponed following a request from public service vehicle operators. Frederick Muki for Prime Edition.
The reintroduction of the mask mandate is gradually gaining traction in the country. A spot check by Channel 1 showed that some Kenyans are adhering to the directive, which requires the wearing of masks in closed places and in public service vehicles. The reintroduction of the protocols was informed by the recent spike in COVID-19 cases, which has 4 days been in the hundreds.
The Central Business District in Nairobi County. At one of the major bus terminals in Kenya's capital, the directive on face masks in matatus is not being implemented with only a handful of passengers boarding the vehicles donning face masks. For others, it is business as usual, no masks. Inside the vehicles, some have chosen not to don face masks despite warnings of a spike in COVID-19 infections.
Saa hii tunaangalia customer kama wanafaa maski wakiingia kwa gari. Na bado sasa tunasema labda kama wanaweza rudisha ile sanitizer ya kitambo ndio tuwe bado tukijipaka hiyo sanitizer na tukiangalia maski tupunguze hiyo COVID tena.
Nimekuwa kwa basi hata nataka Kiambu saa hizi. Sijaona mtu yeyote akiwa na maski. Na tumejaa kwa matatu imejaa. Ya 36 sita. Hakuna watu walikuwa na maski hapo, wote wako tu bila maski. Sioni kama itakuwa rahisi.
Wakati wa COVID ni sasa. Wakati wa COVID iko hapa saa hii. Si ati ilikuwa hapo, alafu ikatoroka, alafu ikaisha, haijaisha.
Another spot check at a supermarket. Things are different here. Masks are a mandatory requirement for one to gain entry. Those without a mask are not allowed in. With others opting to try their luck elsewhere, others opt to buy masks from vendors outside the supermarket.
Mimi tangu mtaikagwa aseme kuwa watu wavae mask, mtu kama mimi najua, naweza sema at least napata lishe ya watoto wangu. Ni wakati ninaamuka hapo, hiyo 10 ambayo ninachanga, the end of the day nitakuwa nimepata hiyo unga yenye imepanda to 10 na watoto wangu watakosa ya kukula.
The supermarket also has designated points for hand washing, sanitizing and temperature check. Members of the public are also concerned over the increase in cases of flu, even as the Ministry of Health warned that the country was in the flu season that is projected to run until November this year.
Mimi nimekuwa nayo kali. Natembea kila bali nasikia kila mtu ako na hiyo flu. Imekuwa mingi sana, hiyo flu imekuwa mingi. Hiyo sasa kataa, nimekuta watu wengi wako nayo.
Because you have a kind of flu which has not been seen before. You come to work, you vent outside your premise, you get it, you go to your household, you spread it. Not even children that are spared.
Kenya has 2 flu seasons. The first season starts usually from March and lasts until May. Then the second flu season starts from around July and lasts till October, November. But you've seen the cold season has come earlier this time than is usually the case.
With the recent directive on the wearing of face masks in enclosed spaces, concern is still rife over the laxity being displayed in a number of places, with members of the public being urged to embrace individual responsibility. Nancy Okware, reporting for Prime Edition from CBD, Nairobi.
Thank you, Nancy Okware. Now let's focus on the facts about COVID-19. 454 people have tested positive for COVID-19 from a sample size of 3,534 screened in the last 24 hours. The Ministry of Health says the positivity rate is now at 12.8%. Total confirmed positive cases now stand at 390,478, while 195 patients have recovered from the disease, pushing the total number of recoveries to 321,281. Data from Johns Hopkins University COVID-19 Resource Center shows that over 540 million people have been infected globally, with over 6.3 million deaths reported since the pandemic was first reported. To some sad news across the borders, the death toll in Afghanistan has risen to 1,000 after a massive 6.1 magnitude earthquake hit the southeastern provinces of Paktika and Khost. The earthquake, which is the worst in the country, or the country has ever experienced in decades, has also left more than 1,500 people injured, with the death toll expected to rise as rescue continues.
The 6.1 magnitude earthquake, which caused tremors as far as 500 kilometers from its epicenter in the city of Khost, has left 1,000 people dead and 1,500 people injured, with locals saying the numbers could rise as information streams in from remote villages. The earthquake, which struck on Tuesday night while most people were asleep, has left a trail of destruction behind it, with thousands left homeless and entire villages being reduced to rubble. Rescue operations Operations are underway and helicopters are being used to reach remote mountainous areas with food and medical aid. The ruling Taliban have called for aid in the region, which has been experiencing food shortage and harsh economic times. Tremors as a result of the earthquake were felt as far as Pakistan and India, but no casualties have been reported in those areas. For Prime Edition, I'm Jeritage Kiprano.
A 51-year-old woman is fighting for her life in a hospital in Machakos County after she was allegedly attacked by her husband over a land dispute. Florence Mwekali, a mother of 3, had been approached by the husband to sign a land sale agreement, but she declined, prompting the attack, which left her nursing serious injuries. The husband, Jackson Musyoka, has since been arrested and taken to Tala police station, awaiting arraignment.
Florence says she was tending to her farm when her husband attacked her with a machete and an arrow. Florence says she was blindsided by the attack and sought to find out why the man she loved had turned on her with such vicious anger.
Nilipokuwa tunaendelea kukusanya, nikainua kichwa, nikaona mume wangu anaitwa Jackson Musyoka. Nikamuuliza ni nini, akaniambia nakuja kukuua. Nilikuwa nashika panga na mishale. Akatubia yule nilikuwa na yeye, akakimbia.
He told her that her refusal to sign off a land sale agreement was the cause of the attack.
Akatuba ingine, nikainama, nikamuuliza ni nini. Akaniambia kwa sababu ulikataa kuweka sahihi tuuze shamba, nitakuua nikumalize.
Florence says this is not the first time her husband of 30 years has assaulted her. The husband, Jackson Musyoka, was taken into custody following the attack. Peter Chalo says the family is shocked by the attack on their mother.
Manake amekuwa na maneno mingi, amekuwa akitusumbua kwa familia. Katika hii familia mimi mwenyewe nimekaa Nairobi 14 good years. Nikiwa chokora, sikusoma, sikufanya lolote. Nilipokuja nyumbani, nilikuja nikatafuta bibi, nikaoa. Sasa haya maneno yamekuwa bado yakifuata. Mzee anafuruga mama, mara anaenda kwao anampiga, mama anaenda anarudi sababu anataka boma yake isimame.
Patient who came in the morning, Florence Mwekali, who had assaults and had deep cut wounds on the hand and legs, and the patient has been seen in our facility and already has been done the stitching and dressing, and the patient has become stable, so now has been referred to Machakos Level 5 Hospital for further management and for scan.
The attack comes amid rising cases of gender-based violence in the country. Elvis Otieno reporting for Prime Edition.
Let's focus on counties now. And government spokesperson Sarah Zoguna says that a security situation in the volatile Kerio Valley region has significantly improved since the government imposed the dawn to dusk curfew 2 weeks ago. There's more stories in news making headlines in the counties.
Oguna, who was in Eldoret flanked by Uasin Gishu County Commissioner Stephen Kihara, says the government has scaled up efforts to improve security situation in troubled areas. Oguna added that the security teams have recovered guns, including combat rifles, pistols, ammunition and camouflage gear during the mop-up operation in the villages in Elgeyo Marakwet, Baringo and West Pokot counties. Elsewhere, over 400 workers from troubled Kerocho breweries in Naivasha have petitioned President Uhuru Kenyatta to intervene over the ongoing tax row between the company and Kenya Revenue Authority. The workers claim their lives are in jeopardy and have not received their 4 months' salary due to the protracted row.
Ministry of Labor to take up this issue. Soon, we will lose lives here. Because for the past 1 month, all these people have not been working. But they have families that depend on them. There are a lot of questions and answers that we don't have answers to. Therefore, we are requesting that let's have a sit down.
Meanwhile, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha has put on notice individuals with fake degree certificates, saying they risk prosecution. Speaking at Koderobara School while inspecting the construction of CBC classrooms, Magoha says the issues of fake degrees should not be politicized.
So remove politics from it. That is one of the things that will not bother any Kenyan. Because if you claim to have a degree, you can't walk into a room and get a degree. No judge can give you a degree. Are we together? IBC cannot give you a degree. A degree must come from a university.
Finally, the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties is currently engaged in stakeholders' campaign for a peaceful electioneering. Speaking in Mombasa, the Coast Region ORPP coordinator Ezekiel Obonyo says the objective of the forum is to ensure they reach electorates at the grassroots level as they preach peace during the campaigns.
Zungumza tu. Tujue tutafanya kazi pamoja kivipi ndio tukue na uchaguzi yenye iko na amani na haina vurugu na kuwe ya haki na ya kweli.
Na mmekuta mihemko mingi ndani ya Mombasa County, hasa wakati huno wa siasa. Vurugu limetokea, wanasiasa wenyewe kwa wenyewe kugongana, wananchi kugongana. Tumeleta nguvu pamoja, tunafanya synergy. Hapa leo tumealika mashirika yasiyo ya kiserikali, tumealika na hasa waumini ambao wana nguvu za kuongoza watu ndani ya misikiti na makanisa.
Edwin Austin for Prime Edition.
Now, the love between a young man and woman from different ethnic backgrounds blossoms into an engagement, but their parents' conflicting political affiliations now stand in their way of getting married. How will Wendo Juma and Mugeni Magero overcome the challenge? Here now is Jacqueline Masharia with a review of the film Chaguo in our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre.
Cinemas and Theatre. Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
I believe in Kwa. Well, doesn't hurt that he's so easy to look at.
Chaguo follows Wendo Juma and Mugeni Magero, a young engaged couple from different ethnic communities.
I am not going to back down. I will also completely understand.
Mugeni comes from a wealthy political family. Due to past misdeeds associated with his family, Mugeni has tried to distance himself from politics.
I'd appreciate it if you did this after the election. Unlike you, my life does not revolve around politics.
Wendo, on the other hand, is a political PR manager who works for Matthew Koa, an opponent of Njama Magero. Koa is a young political activist from a minority community who believes in a change in the political status quo. Njama is Mugeni's uncle.
Wendo, are you mad? Can you stop shouting?
This inevitably leads to a rift between Wendo and Mugeni, and the two end up on opposite sides of the political divide.
Honor your father and mother and heed their guidance, even to whom you cast your vote for in the election.
And where is that written in the Bible?
When I came to Kenya in October 2020, I saw this very young generation. It was my first time in Kenya. And I thought, what can we do? Especially when it comes to the election. Then I met Ravi, the producer, and asked him about a movie which might attract young people much more.
The main themes in Chaguo are love, politics, and deceit. Love, because love is a universal emotion, and we felt while writing the film, it would be good to have an underlying theme that's universal to every human being. Politics, because it's current, it's happening, it's important, and deceit, because unfortunately, a lot of the political games that we see happening involve a lot of deceit, whether it's at the top level or at the bottom level or even at family level.
Chaguo stars Nyokabi Masharia as Wendo, Nick Kwach as Mugeni, Brian Ogola as Koa, and Abel Lamunga as Njama, among others. But how is it getting into character?
Rolling into Njama was okay for me. I have been studying these politicians, so it was not hard for me. I know how they behave. I know how they dress, I know how they talk, I know how they address the voters. I know their motives. So it was really easy for me to get into that character.
The film by Conrad Adenauer Foundation comes at a time when Kenya gears up for the August 9th, 2022 general election. But what impact does it have on the society today?
Didn't want it to do a normal education movie. We wanted to tell a story. We wanted to explain a little bit the way to elections and what happens on the different levels.
The political scene has changed, but I think it's the beginning of something. It's the beginning of, it's a little seed that we hope to, the film will plant, that will make people in the long run start thinking more about their political decisions.
Family genes waking up finally.
The film industry is progressing in the right way. I have been there for more than a decade plus, and I have seen that we have progressed so far. Where we are now is not where we were like 10 years ago. And I should say, because of technology, this digital era has caused a lot of people to improve in terms of production. Also, we have big support from the government, from all the bills that have been signed by the President and the Kenya Film Commission.
The sister here must accept that she made the wrong choice.
The film is showing at Prestige Plaza Cinema from the 17th to the 23rd. Very affordable, 500 weekdays, 600 weekends, every day at 5 p.m.
I thought I'd come and offer my help. There's no peace because of you.
Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Cinemas and Theatre. Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
Time for us to take another breather, but of course when we come back, Betty Jepkonga Kibet will bring you the business news, and then later Carol Kibet with the business of sports. Don't go too far.
The Postal Corporation of Kenya Staff Pension Scheme and Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme will be holding its annual general meeting on 30th June 2022 at the Hilton Hotel Ballroom from 9:30 a.m. The event will be live on KBC Channel 1. Postal Corporation of Kenya Staff Pension Scheme. My pension, my comfort.
Nikishuka chini, alikuwa chini kwa garini mwangu akiningojea. Na amenambia maneno chungu nzima.
Ngoja, Kieta yuko hapa?
Lakini hapa ndani hapa kali.
Mimi na wewe tukapa kila siku, wala kugusana tugusana, wala kusongeleana tusongeleane. Msichana ajitambulisha mimi kwangu kwa yeye ni girlfriend wa bad.
Bingo, but that's obvious.
Obvious?
A very good evening to you. Thank you for staying with Prime Edition. My name is Betty Jepkonga Kiptum, not Kibet as earlier stated by Kioria. Now, Kenya plans to double its livestock production and ramp up export of animal products in the next 9 years. This is according to the livestock agenda launched today that identifies diseases, high cost of animal feed and malnutrition as key challenges hampering livestock production.
The livestock sector contributes an estimated 12% to the economy. However, diseases, malnutrition, mismanagement and low inherent productivity hinders its growth.
We must address the issue, the science around our work. What is our diagnostic work? How do we manage our diseases, disease search, disease investigation, disease identification, and that the human-animal interface, human-animal interaction, encroachment into the ecosystem, and what do we have as major formal treatments and what are our ethno issues, how we manage the treatment, do they work?
To boost productivity, the government has rolled out a 9-year livestock research agenda anchored on evidence-based survey of the subsector. The agenda prioritizes, among others, improvements in livestock husbandry, feeding and breeding, as well as the adoption of technology and innovation.
Now we've been referred to as a middle-income country, meaning the disposable income is high, and we just don't want to eat any other food. We want now the animal protein food, something that we were not able to buy, but we are now able to buy because of the disposable income. And therefore, we have to look at it in terms of how then do we increase productivity within the livestock subsector. Without setting the research agenda, it's going to be very difficult to able to increase productivity.
The livestock agenda plans to double the livestock population in the country while at the same time increasing animal products like meat, milk, skins and hides, among others.
This livestock research agenda has been developed to address the requirements for the entire livestock sector development, and it recognizes that livestock is an integral part and plays a key role in the sustainable food systems.
The livestock PS said the data will aid in the identification and prioritization of livestock programs to adequately tackle the challenges across the value chain. Regina Manyara reporting for Prime Edition.
And Equity Group CEO James Mwangi is calling for a new global economic and social order that inspires trust between businesses and their host communities. Speaking during the Commonwealth Heads of States and Governments Meeting Business Forum in Kigali, Rwanda, Mwangi said since the pandemic, globalization, competitiveness and economies of scale have been put to question, thereby threatening livelihoods for millions of people.
COVID-19 disruptions coupled with economic pressures has seen countries struggling to honor their debt obligations or even at the worst defaulting on servicing debt, as was the case with Sri Lanka last month. It is this stress on economies that financiers now say global leaders should deal with the impact of the pandemic and look at the Commonwealth's role in rebuilding and reinvigorating the global economy.
Everybody knows what they want, but it looks like we had no common plan that we could all put our heads on. And with all the heads on the deck, pulling or pushing the same direction, we believe the reset will happen.
Speaking during the Commonwealth Heads of States and Governments Meeting Business Forum in Kigali, Rwanda, Mwangi backed agricultural productivity, mineral resources, youth and women, and environment and sustainability as a 4-point plan intended to transform Africa during the post-COVID period.
And let's not stop talking about African potential, Africa having 60% of all the Arab blood. Let's convert that Arab blood into productive agricultural land. And our export values will go significantly. And of course, government revenue in taxes will be 30-40-fold because of the enhanced value.
He said Equity Group will fund to a tune of 11 billion shillings the construction of Kigali Financial Towers through Equity Holding Venture Capital. The groundbreaking ceremony took place on Tuesday in Kigali on the sidelines of the Commonwealth Business Forum officiated by Rwandan President Paul Kagame. Alanauko, Prime Edition.
The yearly funding to Kenyan startups is projected to hit 100 billion shillings in the next 3 years, with firms dealing in payments and remittances expected to attract the highest investment. Caroline Njenga reports.
The technology industry continues to thrive, with Kenya being at the forefront of many technological innovations. Kenya is now among the big 4 countries in Africa, attracting massive funding, with Nigeria leading the pack after receiving 60 billion shillings worth of investments in the first 3 months of this year. Kenyan startups raised 48 billion shillings in venture funding during the first 3 months of this year, which is 7 billion shillings more than the amount raised in 2021. Kenyan startups dealing in payments and remittances are projected to attract the most investments. The projected growth is attributed to investment in accelerators, incubators, and innovations programs, as well as innovation funding by investors and entrepreneurs. Despite this, Africa's startups receive just 1% of global venture funding, which could be corrected by governments relaxing regulations and investing in digital skills. ICT Chief Administrative Secretary said the government is, among others, equipping more than 2 million young Kenyans with the necessary digital skills to help startups go to the next level.
And as the government, we recognize that the youth of the country are very innovative, they are very creative, and they take up tech very well in what they do, whatever they do. So as a government, we aim to create an enabling environment for the uptake of ICTs and, for the utilization of tech in various sectors. And we even have tech and ICT creating job opportunities for these young people.
And independent power producers are urging electrical sector players to use battery energy storage systems to deal with erratic power supply. The IPPs are saying energy storage technologies will help Kenya increase its electricity generation from reliable and efficient and renewable energy sources. Electricity Sector Association of Kenya Chair George Aluru says battery energy storage solutions will enable the country to facilitate reliable, clean and sustainable power to Kenyans.
Option of battery energy storage systems, saying the technology will help integrate greater amounts of renewable energy and manage the grid effectively. The power producers say this technology is rapidly evolving as the race to net zero and efforts to fight climate change see more research and investments. 2/3 of Kenya's electricity is generated from renewable and clean energy sources. Of this, wind power accounts for 15%, that translates to 435 megawatts, while solar accounts for just fewer than 2% of the total installed capacity of 51 megawatts. Electricity Sector Association of Kenya Chairperson George Aluru says harnessing energy storage technologies will greatly help Kenya increase its electricity generation from these reliable and efficient renewable energy sources. The Ministry of Energy in 2019 released the Least Cost Power Development Plan 2021 to 2030, which features prominently in the Generation Capacity Expansion Plan, which includes 50 megawatts of battery energy storage systems in the generation mix by the end of this year, with the number expected to rise to 250 megawatts by 2026. Kenya aims to improve energy reliability by updating and expanding the national power transmission and distribution network and connecting 2 million new consumers under the Energy Master Plan. There is no current framework in place for the integration of battery energy storage systems in the country's generation mix, with IPPs saying there is a need to integrate the use of battery energy storage systems technology. Nduta Mokami for Prime Edition.
And that's it for the business news this evening. But Karen Kibet is standing by with the latest in sports. My name is Betty Kiptum. Do have yourself a lovely night. Bye-bye.
Every day, over 15 million members are transforming Africa. 15 million members, empowered to learn, to create, to grow, to harvest, to lead, to dream. Equity. Karibu member.
As the world gears up for the World Athletics Championships and Commonwealth Games, Athletics Kenya holds trials to get the nation's representatives at these global events this Friday and Saturday. Watch the trials live on KBC Channel 1 this Friday and Saturday. KBC, your true sports partner.
A very good evening to you. I do hope you're holding up well. Let's now get sporty. My name is Karen Kibet. Now, the national trials to select athletics team that will represent Kenya at the forthcoming Commonwealth Games and World Athletics Championship will be held on Friday and Saturday. A total of 45 athletes will be picked for the games across 13 categories.
Athletics Kenya is expected to pick one team for the 2 World Championships, where athletes are expected to double in the 2 championships with the exception of the marathoners. According to AK, the athletes will participate in the World Championship trials, have been solely invited and have already attained qualifying times and will only be selected during the trials, while the Commonwealth Games participants will battle out for slots during the trials at Kasarani.
And so those who will be running for the World Championships, as I said, they will be invited, because we cannot invite somebody who has not qualified.
The first 2 athletes across the 13 events will be picked for the games, with the 3rd athlete and wildcards being picked by a panel of selectors.
Athletes for World Championships and Commonwealth Games will run together. They will run together in their events in one hit. And if a Commonwealth athlete qualified wins in position 1 and 2, and a World Championship qualifier comes outside 1 and 2, the anti-doping qualifying rules takes precedence.
Wildcards are expected to be dished out to 2019 World Athletics Championships winners as well as 2021 Diamond League winners. Field events are, however, conspicuously missing from the trials, with AK revealing that former world javelin champion Julius Yego has already attained qualification for the Commonwealth Games.
Javelin throwers. How many do we have? Only two. Maybe 3. And really for two athletes to come and run on their own or throw, it doesn't.
Meanwhile, Absa Bank and Lotto Foundation boosted the preparations for the trials by donating 12 million shillings and 3 million shillings respectively.
But particularly over the last 3 years, we've been very involved in athletics. And this is because we are truly and proudly a Kenyan brand, and we have to play our role in supporting that what makes Kenya great, which is athletics.
So for us as a foundation, we've seen the growth that has been athletics, that has happened in athletics. We are now cheering sprinters. That has not happened in a long time. So I think it's for us to look back at what have we gained, what have we lost, what have we learned, so that we have a great sport to look forward to. And after this, we work towards to Paris 2024.
The Commonwealth Games are scheduled for July 28th through to August 8th in Birmingham, UK, while the World Athletics Championship will be held between July 15th to 24th in Oregon, USA. Bernard Okumu, Primetime Edition.
Thank you, Kumu, for that report. Moving on, a total of 17 volleyball coaches are taking part in the 5-day coaching course organized by the Kenya Volleyball Federation and FIVB. The Level 2 course is meant to bridge the gap among trainees and equip them with requisite technical skills in efforts to improve the level of the game in the country.
The Level 2 course, which is being conducted by senior FIVB instructor Mustafa Shush, has attracted former players transitioning to coaching, as well as several Kenya Volleyball Federation Premier League clubs coaches. The course has also attracted coaches from Rwanda, Uganda, South Sudan and Tanzania. The course, according to Kenya Volleyball Federation KVF Deputy President Charles Nyaberi, is meant to show up technical skills among the trainees as the country seeks to improve both the men's and women's mark on the global stage.
So what we are trying to do is put in place a system of continuity, a system of transition, whereby the top players, instead of just dropping out into the wilderness, in the playing wilderness, so to say, they remain in the system in one capacity or another, preferably as coaches. Others remain on as referees, and others go on to become administrators.
The Level 2 course comes after the conclusion of Level 1 last week, which attracted 35 coaches, with the beach volleyball coaches course also scheduled in Nairobi in July. Meanwhile, the national women's volleyball team, Malkia Strikers, is expected to leave for Brazil on Wednesday this week ahead of their 2-month training stint in Brazil. While in Brazil, Malkia is expected to play top Brazilian clubs in a series of friendlies before heading to Serbia, where they are scheduled to play Colombia and Serbia in the last friendly matches, then head to Holland for the World Championship. Kenya's trip to Brazil has, however, been hampered by lack of funds, with the federation still appealing for government's assistance.
Our appeal still goes back without sounding like a broken record. We still appeal to our government. Since the Serbian leg and also the World Championships proper will fall in the next financial year, we still plead for the government to consider and fund us.
The 19th edition of the World Championship is expected to serve off June 23rd of September through to October 15th in Poland and Holland. Kenya is pooled in Group A with Belgium, Cameroon, Italy, Netherlands and Puerto Rico. Bernard Okumu, Primetime Edition.
The National Olympic Committee of Kenya has launched the Archery Sport for Peace project in Mount Elgon region, Bungoma County, with inter-county competitions beginning today. Now, 80 participants from 8 counties of Bungoma, Trans Nzoia, Teso, West Pokot, Elgeyo Marakwet, Uasin Gishu, Baringo and Nandi have converged at Mayuba Stadium in Sirisia sub-county for the training. The program's aims at converting cultural practices of using bows and arrows for hunting and cattle rustling into modern sports. The second part of the project will be launched in Kajiado in July. Now finally, Serena Williams made her return to the tennis court almost exactly a year since her last competitive match, and just weeks after many had predicted the 23-time Grand Slam singles champion would never play again. The 40-year-old American teamed up with Tunisia's Ons in the Eastern-born doubles, and the pair won their opening match in an entertaining evening. Next week, Williams is hoping to play in the singles at Wimbledon, where she has won 7 of her major titles. And that's your sports. I'll see you tomorrow with more sports news. Have yourself a peaceful night. My name is Karen Kibet. I now hand you back to Kioria.
Thank you very much, Karen Kibet, with the sports Of course, earlier I interfused Kibet and Kiptum. Business of this Betty, Jepkonga, Kiptum, and our current Kibet with sports. Time for us now to exit. Thank you very much for watching Prime Edition, and great thanks to a sign language interpreter tonight, Lissy Maura. Up next is your weekly dose of reggae. Danga Tufa.
Wakati unapotunza upendo na utamaduni, ni halisi inakuwa tundo la maisha.
Kwa miaka 10 sasa, stesheni uipendayo ya Kimeru, Mwago FM, imekuwa nawe ikikuburudisha na kukuelimisha. Hatungekuwa hapa kama siyo nyinyi mashabiki wetu, na ndiyo maana Mwago FM imeandaa roadshow kali ya kuwashukuru na kujumuika na wasikilizaji wetu. Tarehe 24 Juni, msafara wetu utang'oa nanga mjini Chuka na kuelekea maeneo ya Chogoria, Keria, Magutini, Kadhwana, Tuyai, Marimanti na kumalizia Mukodhima. Jumamosi tarehe 25 tutapitia Nkobo, Meru Town, Kianjai, Mudhara, Kangeta, Maua, Lare, Mutuati, Kiengu miongoni mwa maeneo mengine. Jitokeze ukutane na watangazaji wa Mwago FM na upate burdan safi kutoka kwa wasanii kama vile Kabau wa Sikukuu, Frida Mujundo na wengine wengi. Hii itakuwa sherehe kubwa ya kuadhimisha miaka 10 ya Mwago FM. Usikose. The Postal Corporation of Kenya Staff Pension Scheme and Staff Retirement Benefit Scheme will be holding its annual general meeting on 30th June 2022 at the Hilton Hotel Ballroom from 9:30 a.m. The event will be live on KBC Channel 1. Postal Corporation of Kenya Staff Pension Scheme. My pension, my comfort.
As the world gears up for the World Athletics Championships and Commonwealth Games, Athletics Kenya holds trials to get the nation's representatives at these global events this Friday and Saturday. Watch the trials live on KBC Channel 1 this Friday and Saturday. KBC, your true sports partner.